Welcome back to Starix. This is part 6, and now we're talking about the status effects. This is going to be a pretty interesting one. So I mentioned a couple status effects earlier in the previous parts, but now we're actually going to talk about all 10 of them. So players and enemies can inflict and receive these status effects, and the status effects are inflicted in stacks. You can also receive status effects while exploring from different environmental factors. Like, like the weather or different things that you come across. The stacks can be removed using abilities. Some of the equipment is useful against certain status effects, especially like the armor that you're going to have. Status effects are inflicted in multiple stacks when an ability or an attack is performed containing one. At the beginning of a turn, status effects perform their specific debuff where applicable, and then they lose one stack. At 0 stacks, they're removed. And I was thinking it's going to need to be probably like max 10 stacks so it doesn't go too crazy. There would have to be a cap on it. The first status effect is fatigue. Symbol is a snail, just to show like slowness. And fatigue gives you -1 attack and -1 critical per stack, and it leads to the slumber effect after 5 stacks. Now, the numbers that I've put in here are not... There's no way to know if they'd actually work that well unless the game was play tested, so it's just a general idea. The numbers just help me kind of visualize what they do. So just keep that in mind. And then, so if you get too much fatigue, then you're going to actually lead to the next status effect, which is slumber. We have a moon here to symbolize sleeping. Slumber renders one unable to take any actions, and there's a 30% chance to awaken when attacked. It also turns your luck to 0, so you won't be able to resist status effects while you're slumbered. And this doesn't... Oh yeah, I guess it could stack. But if you awaken... I don't know what the stack would do, actually. That wouldn't make any sense, but when you get attacked, you have a chance to wake up and for it to be removed. So you can't do anything while you're asleep. You just have to sit there and take the hits. Something like that. And you can't deflect any status effects. So it'd be pretty dangerous if an enemy could inflict slumber on you and also inflict another status effect at the same time. There would be nothing you could do about it. And moving on, status effect number 3. Poison. Poison is a little skull and crossbones, kind of like you'd see on a vial of... everybody's got, the little vial of arsenic in the back of their cabinet, so yeah, mine looks like this. Poison does 1% total health damage per stack. That might be a little too low, but I kind of needed some more mild status effects that weren't so bad. And I think 1% is alright. Maybe 2% would be good, but if you're in a battle and there's not that many turns, it's not really going to matter that much, so maybe more than 1% is needed, but that's pretty simple. just kind of takes your health down, chips away at it a little bit at a time. Status effect number 4, Cryo. Cryo is a little snowflake to show coldness. So yeah, these are kind of ones that could be environmental too, like poison. Maybe you, like, while you're exploring, your character touches a plant that's poisonous, or cryo, especially if you were in like Curidium, the land of the blue star. It's really cold, so you'd probably need some kind of special equipment to go there. I think that would be interesting. So maybe some special armor, or maybe even the Phantomite armor could be good against cryo, which is this set. And that would make sense because you're in the frozen tundra, and it would just make sense as an environmental status effect. Cryo makes your base attacks deal 5% less damage per stack. And so if it's fully stacked up, then you do half the amount of damage you would normally do, 50% less damage at 10 stacks. And then it does 2% total health damage per stack. So it's a lot worse than poison. It does this health damage. So maybe cryo should just do 1% health damage, and poison should do 2% health damage. I think that would probably make more sense. So I might change that. And then we have the next one, number 5, which is kind of the fire one here, Pyro. And Pyro does 3% total health damage per stack. So it does the most amount of damage per stack. The thing is that once the stacks go up, like if you had 10 stacks of poison, you would be taking 10% damage per turn. That's a lot. And then even Pyro, if you had 10 stacks, it would be 30% damage of your total health damage. So as their total health, that's a big amount. So you're really going to need the armor to deflect against these. They're really problematic once they stack up. If it's just 1 or 2 stacks, it's not going to last very long because, like I said, every turn you lose 1 stack. But enemies could inflict, maybe if they were really powerful, they could even inflict 5 stacks at once, and that it would take 5 turns to wear off, and it would be really bad at first, but it would slowly wear off, and by the end it wouldn't be so bad. But you have to watch out for those stacks, because they will get really bad. And then voltage is the next one. I had to make this look significantly different than energy. So it's kind of like a weird, it's like a wavy line. Voltage randomly deals between 0 to 10% health damage each turn, and it doesn't stack. Maybe it should do more than that, maybe not, but it's just the randomness of it, I think it's good. But it wouldn't be as bad as poison if it only did that much. Possibly I could change that a little bit, but I wanted voltage to just do random damage. It's unpredictable, and you never know how much damage it's going to do. Maybe I would have it so that it has less of a chance of doing a higher amount of damage, something like that. But yeah, voltage just does randomized damage each turn. Next, probably my personal favorite of all of these, Fear. Fear gives you -1 defense per stack, so you would take a lot more damage. If you have a lot of fear, it's taking one whole defense point away from you per stack. And so yeah, defense does, it protects you by a percentage. You get 8%, or you get 2% damage absorption per level. So it's taking away that damage absorption. And I think that's kind of interesting. I was going to give it maybe a different effect, but I had to make them take away your skills. So I think that's good for now, for fear. Next, there's weakness, which is this dying flower. Weakness makes your attacks do 15% less damage per stack. And that's a lot. That'd be over 100% less damage if it was fully stacked up. So maybe that's a little too much. Maybe it should only be 10%, because then that would be 100% less damage. So that's, yeah. I'm going to change that to 10% here. That way at 10 stacks, it is 100% less damage. You don't do any damage. Yep. Weakness affects your attack. And next one, whoops. Next one is stun. With stun, it's kind of similar to slumber because you can't do anything, but you'll take twice as much attack damage, and there's no way to wake up from it when you get attacked like you do with slumber, because if you get attacked when you're in slumber, you have a 30% chance of waking up. But with stun, you just have to wait it out. So it's really bad. Also, to make it even worse, you take twice as much damage from attacks, not from criticals, 'cause that would be way too much. And then your evasion and ward levels are also negated. There's 0. So there's no deflecting attacks back on your enemy, and there's no avoiding attacks. Maybe that's a little too bad. Maybe I should make it so it's only ward and you could still evade. But yes, I like stun because it's really bad. You're really gonna have a problem if you don't have armor that protects you against stuns, or if you don't do an ability first that protects you against stun. Alright, that's number 9. Last one, number 10, confusion. Confusion is a couple stars to kind of show like dizziness, or like you're in a daze. In the cartoons, they always have little stars floating around people's heads when they get dizzy or knocked in the head hard. This one's kind of weird. I don't know if I want it to stay like this 100%. Might change it later down the road. For now, it does -1 point to 1 random skill per stack. So it's just going to choose one of your skills randomly, and it's going to take 1 point out. With health and energy, that wouldn't work well. With the other ones, it would work just fine. So it's just these 6 here. You can't take away people's health, otherwise it might just automatically kill them. That'd be kind of weird. And energy, I don't want it to do that either, because you need that for your abilities. So confusion does -1 to either attack, critical defense, luck, ward, or evade. Yeah, so there we go. We have all of these. Let me zoom out so we can look at them a little better. fatigue, slumber, poison, cryo, pyro, voltage, fear, weakness, stun, and confusion. And then enemies would have their own moves and stuff. You can also inflict status effects on enemies, which I think would be cool. And enemies have like their own moves. They don't work exactly like the player character that would. And they would be able to do, like super criticals with 3 times the damage, or ultra criticals with 5 times the damage. Or they could like counter you or heal themselves. And they would have like a certain amount of random chance to do these abilities. And that would be kind of nice because you could learn their attack patterns and kind of predict and prepare for what the enemy you're fighting does. So I have status effects linked to all the different enemies. And that's all about status effects. So we'll see you in the next part, and thanks for watching.